All right, what's going on, everybody? Gonna talk with Mr. Archcast here, Warhammer expert, and
Hello.
he's got quite the story. Do you want to let people know who you are and a little bit? I know, didn't Games Workshop come after you pretty hard?
They did. I used to be called Arch Warhammer on YouTube, but after people on Reddit contacted the GW legal team, they sent me an email saying that that was a trademark infringement and I had to change my name.
Yeah, they didn't like your opinions is one of the reasons they were coming after you, right?
They really didn't like that. In fact, even now, I know because one of the GW authors, the Black Library authors, hinted to quite clearly on Twitter that in their contract they signed with GW, they are not allowed to bring up anything controversial, including me, mentioned by name.
That's crazy. So you really got under their skin.
It seems like it. And I don't even know what I did to deserve so much attention, but something clearly.
Well, we're going to have you on the Flash Crash stream this Saturday. We're going to go into this in a deep dive. But I wanted to bring you on to talk about what's going on. I've been covering this a little bit, but I don't know a lot about Warhammer, so I thought you'd be great to bring on and kind of go over what's been happening. It seems that, though I've heard for a while that Warhammer has been getting infiltrated, it seems like they're going all out now with this custodian stuff. Do you want to kind of talk about the lore on this and what fans are so upset about?
Well, there's probably two main things. The first is that the Custodians have always been a male-only faction, being kind of mirrored in their female-only counterpart, the Sisters of Silence. Like, these two have kind of combined to become the Emperor's elite, right?
Yeah, I saw that when I looked into this a little bit, that they already had a woman's class. Are they going to put... I'm guessing there's not going to be any men in the Sisters of Silence.
No, because, of course, the second big reason is we know why they're doing this. And they told us when they started saying that there have always been female custodians. I'm sure you've seen that, that tweet go around.
I saw that from the official Warhammer account.
Exactly, because GW has retcon stuff before, tons of times. And if they were just like, yeah, no, we changed the lore because, reason. All right, fair enough. I'd still be upset about it, but it would just be a lore change.
Yeah.
Instead, they're pretending that this never happened. They're gaslighting you straight up, looking you in the face like, what do you mean? It's always been female custodians.
Yeah, that seems to be what has people pretty upset. And I saw you post some stuff out. A lot of other people post some stuff out showing kind of from older books that, no, that's not the case. And people are getting pretty upset about that. I got this article that I went over yesterday where they talk about a lot of people are canceling their subscriptions. And is this the book right here that everyone's referencing?
Yes, that's the Codex, the rule book for the Adeptus Custodes.
And then there's this screenshot right here. I think you sent this to me in DMs the other day. Is this the paragraph you sent me?
Yes. I was sending that over to the side scrollers, and I had you up by mistake. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It was informative, at least. I was able to use it.
Yep, because the one you've got right there, that's the one from the Codex that introduces the female Custodes. Well, they give her pronouns.
So this is from the 2024 book. Okay.
Yep. And I think that one there, maybe. Yeah, that's the second one too, where they talk about it. But there's a mention from a previous codex where they explicitly state that the Custodes are recruited from amongst the sons of Terra nobility. And the very earliest mention of the Custodes ever, back in Rogue Trader, the oldest version of 40k, they also mention that the Custodes are men, and that never leave Terra. So it has been stated again and again. And the thing is, too, even if they never said they're male, the simple fact that there has never been a female Custodes for 30 years makes it pretty clear.
I think what's going on here, and this is just me looking in on this, is these are the custodians, right?
Though that's a Primaris Ultramarine, so no.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
same power armor, but a little different.
So it's the same power armor. Okay, yeah, the gold ones are the custodians, right? Is that what it is?
Yep, they're the Emperor's super special uber mega elites.
They're kind of the coolest looking characters, at least to me. I think the ones with all this power armor ones are pretty cool. Even with you see the Trump meme where they put him in that gold armor.
Yep, the God Emperor Trump.
It seems like that's like one of the most recognizable figures from this, and they want to just kind of shoehorn women into it.
Absolutely, because the Space Marines are their most popular faction, and they've been asking for female Space Marines for ages. And the Custodes are kinda Space Marines. They're like super Space Marines that only the Emperor could make. So this is, I think, a baby step towards trying to normalize the idea of female Space Marines, like a little pinky finger into the pool to see if they can get away with it.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that. There's going to be more changes. This is like the first of many, just to see how it's going to go over. That's what it looks like to me, because that's how it always starts. The one little thing, and then they just start changing everything.
Yep. They might also, one theory I've seen, which I do give a little bit of credence, is also that they might be doing this because of their collaboration with Amazon, because Amazon is quite a woke company.
Oh, yeah,
again.
big time. Do you think this is being done because of the Henry Cavill show? Like, I guarantee you're going to see female custodians in that show.
Very possibly. Because here's another thing, too. A little bit of a conspiracy theory time here, right? Games Workshop has said it again and again that they are first and foremost a company that sells models, that sells like plastic toys, basically. They haven't announced any female Custodes models at all. So why is the plastic toy selling company not announcing any plastic toys to sell?
That's interesting. You think that they would have done this to try to roll out a new figure? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, here you go. Here's
the
female custodians. Now you can paint these and have fun with these too.
Yeah, because normally when they announce anything new, it's like a big deal. Like, look at this, look at this new cool thing. Lots of articles about it, a lot of exposés, lots of pictures, because again, they want to sell you the models. And yet here, they make this change and no models. That's weird.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. It's almost like they want to just push the message instead of the actual making money part. Which I don't think, I really wonder how many people would run out and buy these. Would they even look very much any like different than the regular ones if they're wearing power armor?
Well, there's another big question, isn't it? Because what happens when you create a Space Marine or a Custodes is you're essentially using the gene code of either one of the Primarchs, which are the super ultra demigod leaders of these Space Marine legions, or in the case of the Custodes, possibly the Emperor himself. This basically means that you're overwriting part of their DNA so that some Space Marines, for example, look almost identical to their Primarch. So if they were to make female Custodes, theoretically, they would look like slightly more effeminate, enormous buff men, theoretically.
Yeah, so they would change. That's pretty cool. Like that idea. So the guy that makes them overwrites their DNA. That's pretty cool. Yep. Well, that kind of works out perfectly then if the women look like men. When you look at what's going on with everything, that's what they want. Well, I was just talking about that the other day with Pokemon. I don't know if you saw that, but they updated the avatars, and you've got women with no hips, big chins. Like, they look like men now.
Yes, I heard about that. I haven't looked into it, but that they changed all of the Pokemon characters to basically be non-binary looking.
Yeah, so maybe that's what they want to do with these Warhammer characters, which is why this is so wild to me, because I've seen you in videos talking about how this is already kind of a right leaning franchise, just in its world.
Oh yeah, like 40K is inherently right wing as a franchise. I mean, the Imperium is explicitly right wing. It is explicitly anti-progress. It is explicitly anti like liberty, etc. It it is all about tradition, all about loyalty. It is very right wing.
So now they're going to come in and try to make it a little bit more liberal, which makes no sense.
It's going to do incredible damage to the franchise if they continue to do this, because the entire appeal of 40K is that it is a grimdark franchise. Like, it is the only explicitly right-wing franchise, because most other franchises are either somewhat left-wing, somewhat liberal, somewhat progressive, or outright neutral. Like Star Trek is quite progressive, although not woke. I'd like to point that out. Star Wars, the rebels rising up against the tyrannical empire, so on. Whilst in 40K, who are the good guys? The Empire are the good guys.
Oh, that's why I didn't even know that. I like this. I like the designs of this world a lot. I think that it looks really cool. Where do you think this is gonna lead to? Because you already see people canceling their subscriptions. I went over this article yesterday. There's a lot of people. I don't know if it's a lot that are like as of just right now is going to really hurt it, but you can kind of see like a little bit of a movement starting here, and I wonder how far they're going to push that, because this is a niche. I think it's fair to say this is like a niche thing, right? I mean, it's expensive to get into this. You have to buy all these little armies. You got to buy these books and stuff, and running off your built-in audience that's already kind of used to dropping that income on this doesn't seem like the smartest idea to me.
Yeah, like one of the big differences between 40K and, say, Star Wars, for example, is that 40K has a much higher financial barrier to entry. Like, if you want an army, you're going to need to drop $1,000 easy, right?
Wow.
Whereas in Star Wars, you don't even really need to buy anything. You can go get the old movies maybe for a few bucks here and there, or pick it up on a streaming service or something. You can pretty much get into Star Wars right now with no barrier to entry. If you want to get into 40K, again, it's really expensive. And the people who are into it are used to dropping large quantities of money on ever-expanding armies. And as you say, it's niche. So if they drive away even a percent of their audience, it's going to be a fairly significant dip. In fact, the stock prices have now been consecutively falling for the last week since the announcement. So it's only been a week so far. Difficult to say anything long term from just a week's data.
Right.
But it's been a steady downwards trend.
Yeah, it's just I don't quite get that. That's wild. $1,000. That is a big barrier to entry if you want to build your army up.
Oh yeah, like even just a single squad, a unit of dudes, will probably cost you as much as a video game. It is expensive, and bear in mind too, you get gray models for that price. So now you got to paint them too. Like, it's a significant dedication of both money and time to get into 40K.
Yeah, two big things. That's yeah, that's a big investment. So I mean, these are people that are hard to find, to be honest. People that are willing to put a lot of time into the hobby and then drop a lot of money into it as well. So I really just don't get the move here, especially when you already had these secret silent sisters that are supposed to be another wing that are just as favored by the Emperor. I mean, you already kind of had foot soldiers there that had their own thing. It just makes no sense to me, like why this needed to be done.
Well, it's the politics of it all. Like, that's what it always boils down to. Because 40K has never lacked representation in the female space. We have another all-female army, the Sisters of Battle. But that isn't the point. It's about pushing progressive politics into it. And as we've seen in every other setting, that never has an end goal. Like, there is never a state at which they go like, yeah, it's woke enough now. We can stop.
How many? How if it? How bad do you think this is going to get, and how long will it be until Games Workshop notices anything from this, if any kind of backlash? Like, how long do you think they could go, and could they turn this around and maybe fix a lot of the shit that's been going on with fans?
It's very hard to say. The community management team have been busily blocking anybody complaining for the last few days, presumably in a bid to hide this from the shareholders and the upper management, I'd guess. Because, of course, upper management in these companies are entirely reliant on the community managers to basically tell them what's going on in the community, because these people don't sit on Twitter all day, of
Yeah.
course. So they're blocking people left, right, and center, probably in an attempt to be like, oh, it's going over pretty well. There's just a few trolls here and there, but otherwise. But it'll take a very long time, I think, before the economic thing really begins to hammer home. Because, I mean, look at Disney, right? Disney's been woke now for almost a decade, and they've only now kind of started to notice. Like, when you're dealing with companies this large, any sort of economic feedback takes years to filter through all of the departments, all of the sales statistics, all of the news, etc., etc.
Like, the difference between this company and a Disney, though, is I wonder how much money Games Workshop has on hand to go the distance like Disney can. Because Disney, what really keeps them going is those parks, and that brings in so much money. Like, how much money are these workshops bringing in?
Games Workshop, I can send you a little link here in the private chat. The Games Workshop had an enormous boost in 2016, 2017 odd, and then an even bigger boost around COVID in 2019, where they went from a market cap of $300-400 million, which is something, but not a huge deal, to today they have a market cap of $3.94 billion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it went up enormously. Like, COVID was the biggest gift to Games Workshop ever because everyone was stuck inside. So painting
Yeah,
miniatures
it's
and
paint our
collecting stuff.
miniatures inside. Yeah, but that's the 2020 boom. A lot of companies have seen decreases after things have kind of gotten back to normal. I'd like to see how they're doing now. But one thing that's like, I don't think so. Setting them apart from like Dungeons and Dragons and Magic, Games Workshop, they actually have a lot of their own retail space, don't they? Like, do they outright own shops?
Yes, hundreds of brick and mortar shops in practically every country on Earth. That was what allowed them to basically take over the entire wargaming niche hobby, because GW has shops everywhere. So they didn't need to compete for shelf space in everybody else's store. They just outright owned the stores.
Yeah, that's a kind of a big deal. And do they host like tournaments and stuff in these stores?
They do indeed. There used to be a lot more community building back in the day, but it's tremendously valuable to just have a physical presence in the community, to be
Yeah,
like, okay, you can come here. We'll teach you how to paint. We'll teach you how to play. We'll have tournaments, etc.
they become hangouts too.
Yep, absolutely.
So you get people to come in constantly and spend money here and there. Like, there's a lot of value in that. It's a place to hang out where people can actually interact and do things. There's not a lot of places like that anymore.
There really aren't. Like, GW is one of very few remaining institutions like this. Especially after like comic book shops are dying very
Yeah.
quickly. Even cinemas, which were never much of a hangout spot to begin with, but it's like cinemas are dying. Like, very soon we will all just be watching movies in our living rooms. Why ever leave the house again?
Yeah, I think That's another discussion, but I think that there is something to that. Want you home all the time, never going anywhere. But yeah, I think this is sad. It's another franchise. It's like one of the last franchises out there that you never really heard a lot of stuff like this coming out of, and now it seems like they're putting the pedal to the metal on this, and it's yet another place that's been infiltrated. It's a spot where people were hanging out and just having a good time, and now you've got all these weirdos running in. And one thing that we've learned over the past few years is a lot of these people, they don't really support or buy any of the shit. And I think that they're making a huge mistake with this. You're running off the whales now, and you're bringing in mice.
Absolutely. I do not see the progressive movement getting into this without changing it enormously. And again, the entire reason why 40K got popular was because it literally invented the term grim dark. For them to now go all hope punky on this stuff and embrace progressivism, trying to become Star Trek, it's not going to work out. It is not going to work out.
Do you think that this will destroy it?
If they keep doing this, if they keep embracing progressivist politics, then yes, eventually. Because again, this is explicitly a right-wing setting, and that is what is so appealing about it. This is the only setting in which you can play as the evil space empire and actually be like, yeah, no, we are 1000% justified. Look, this other faction wants to kill us. This other faction wants to exterminate us all via breeding camps and snip our wee-wees off. This faction just wants to eat us, and this faction lives off torturing us. Yeah, no, eradicate them all.
That's pretty cool. I'd say I would get into it, but I don't know. I'm not very good at painting, but I do love I think the lore is really interesting. I think it's sad to see this go, but do you have any final thoughts on this?
Well, my final thought is probably look out for the Henry Cavill collab show where they're going to try and do 40K with Amazon. If that sucks really bad, that will be an enormous blow. If Cavill manages to save it and make it true to the lore, then that will be like a big deal to buoy up the franchise. We kind of all rely on Cavill now being the nerd he claims to be. So,
yeah, I hope he does a good job. I'm going to watch that show. I'm very curious to see what he does there. And these shows, if they do well, they always have a positive for the franchise. You see a lot of people going and buying a lot of these Fallout games now because of the Amazon show. I saw that they've been spiking in sales.
Let me put it like this. Can you imagine what Henry Cavill would do to the sales of 40K amongst the female demographic?
Oh, yeah, he could raise it up big time.
Yeah, okay, here's the thing, all right? Women don't want female models. Women want male models with less clothing.
This is true, and they never understand that. No, I don't think they're making it for straight women, to be honest, when they do this, but that's another time. Where can people find you?
On YouTube, on the Archcast, where I do the political commentary, and simply just Arch, where I do 40K lore videos.
Yeah, I'll have your channels in the description, and if you want to find Arch on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, it is at TARCH Cast.
Indeed. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Make sure to check out my locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my locals.